On this episode of the podcast, we talk about how to have a better work-life balance. We also talk about leaving the grind behind, how a VA can help you get your time back, how one particular workshop can help you land your biggest jobs ever, and also the best question to start most meetings with. What's up, friend? I'm Ryan Coral from Studio Sherpas, and this is the Grow Your Video Business podcast, the show for corporate and commercial filmmakers that are wanting to build a business without burning out. On this show, we cover topics like how to get more clients, how to charge what you're worth, how to work smarter, not harder. And here's the deal. This work is really hard. It feels like you might be on an island. But I want you to know you're not alone, my friend. I think we're almost 300 episodes deep. This show is for you to help you not feel like you're the only the only one with the struggles that you have as a business owner, as a filmmaker, as somebody that really wants to get hired for the great work that you do. I've been doing this work personally for 17 years. That's how long I've owned a production company. I'm here to share with you some of the struggles, frustrations, things that I've had to deal with, things I've overcome, things that I'm still working on in my business. And a lot of times I get to have guests on here that have stories of their own to kind of help guide the way. So I'm grateful that you're here, and we've got some really good stuff today. I want to paint a picture for you before we jump in to the actual interview. So let's say you get a call from a client, all right? Maybe it's a Zoom or in person or something like that. It's a big brand. They're really excited to find a new video partner, and they really like your work. You spend a decent amount of time on this call or in this meeting. Then you go back to your laboratory. You spend hours building out a creative direction, a pitch, and then you spend a lot of time like trying to quote this thing out and trying to like dial it in perfectly. So not you don't want it to be too much. You know they're a big brand. You know they can afford it, but you don't want to create something that's too cheap, but at the same time you really want the work, so you might like err on making it a little bit less expensive than you really want to. And then you propose this quote to the client to only find out that they went with somebody else, or they're no longer interested, or they want you to come down in your price. You've done all of this work. You've put creative time and energy into like saying like, this is what we think would be the best. And they're like, nah, pass. It's crushing. It's devastating. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. If you want to see what we're creating for our production clients, I have a free gift for you that you can download at studiosherpas.com/blueprint. This is an actual blueprint that we created for a client that we charged $2,500 for. So that same scenario that I painted where you're in a meeting with a client, you're coming up with creative ideas, you're proposing numbers. We don't do any of that work without getting paid. We charge $2,500 for that experience. So you can download a sample of what it's an actual piece that we delivered to a client, a blueprint that we delivered to a client. And this one in particular ended up, we won the project. They said, we love the workshop and we want to do the video that you guys are describing here, which ended up being around a $60,000 project that led to, in that same project, almost $40,000 more. And it has also led to multiple other workshops with just this one client and other blueprints and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars of more work with them. So you can get your hands on this blueprint, see exactly what we're including when we deliver this and what we're not including, all based on this 2-hour workshop that we do before the client signs a big production contract, before there's any cameras or record buttons or anything. We're not doing any of that. We're doing this workshop. We're delivering this blueprint, all for $2,500. This is my gift to you. You can download it at studiosherpas.com/blueprints. With that, let's jump into this episode. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to this episode. Today, I've got with me Mr. Mike Myers, who is a full-time video producer, wedding filmmaker, photographer, and also recently added podcasting to his resume. He is the owner of May Morning Studios and Carrot Film Company. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Longtime listener. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we've known each other for a long time. So I was so happy. I was like, wait, has Mike been on the show before? And I think we've just had like Zoom calls in the past.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I think we tried one time and just kind of had to reschedule and stuff. So,
but here we are.
Finally here.
Alas.
We are here. We're doing it.
Where in the world are you?
Where am I? I'm in Worcester, Ohio. It's spelled Wooster.
That's right.
W-O-O.
Yeah. I've been to a concert in
it
Wooster.
I know. Many people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
about 3
school
hours
there, right? College?
Yeah, the College of Worcester.
Okay.
It's pretty prominent.
I think I saw jars of clay there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think,
throwback.
but that was like, dude, I mean, this is like 1998, I think.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
All right. Yeah. I mean,
you probably weren't even born then.
No, I lived here. You were probably in the same town at the same time. I was probably like 10 or 11 then. So
that's awesome. We'll talk about, so you got 2 video companies, podcasting, wedding filmmaker, video producer, there's lots going on. What is going the best right now?
What is going the best? I think what's going the best is, I don't know. It's kind of, I've kind of evened everything out a little bit. I first started out in wedding filmmaking 10 years ago, and funny enough, in 2020, right before the pandemic hit, kind of decided, you know what, I'm kind of going to segue out of weddings more into corporate, and it actually paid off pretty well. And then, so I think everything, I'm still doing weddings, but more in like a higher pricing tier, so I'm not doing a ton. So I'm really only trying to do like 3 or 4 of those a year, but really things are taking off in the corporate realm, and spending a decent amount of my week just working with brands and businesses and creating high quality video content for them.
And so do you have a focus, who you're going after, or what kind of films you're making for them?
So mostly I really have a passion for like the creative, kind of short form commercial, that you might see like actual ads like on YouTube or on television traditionally. So really building those out, 30-second spots, 60-second spots, 15, and obviously I have a lot of history and stuff in doing kind of anthem films or culture films and stuff like that for businesses, and I really enjoy doing those too. But I'm really trying to push into like, more high concept, like these are, we have a few people on set and like we're doing something like funny, humorous, those types of ads. I really enjoy doing those. So.
And who are you targeting? Like, who are you going after? Who's an ideal client, and or?
I guess probably, yeah. I know that that it's talked about a lot in this realm of getting a niche or a niche. I don't really necessarily have. I guess if I had to pick one, it'd probably be like manufacturing, and in that kind of realm. There's a ton of manufacturing where I'm at. It's one of the biggest manufacturing, huge brands that are global right in my backyard, which is pretty strange for a pretty small community, but we just have a lot of farmland. So they build a lot of facilities to manufacture stuff. So
lots of space there.
Yes. So that's where I kind of find myself, whatever it might be.
And what would you say, like, as far as like marketing, what has worked well for you to find clients?
I think marketing in the traditional sense, nothing really.
Yeah.
It's always
That's not helpful, but it resonates.
Yeah, I know it. I guess I haven't really necessarily tried fully to, do ads and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it's really been word of mouth. Being in a community of, our county has like 40,000 people. Our town has like 20. But like I said, there's a ton of manufacturing. So if you can make those personal connections and you can network at Chamber of Commerce events or whatever it might be, that's the best marketing. And it's just such a tight knit community that, people will easily refer you to other people if you do good work and if you're fun and easy to work with too.
So you told me before the call that tomorrow you've got a workshop.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how this came about and what tomorrow is supposed to be.
Okay. It's pretty awesome. And it's one of, I had been I obviously have been listening to the podcast for a long time and like had tossed around the idea. And I think I even put it on like one of the community groups of like, guys, like and I know you're not, Ryan did not tell me to say this, but like,
it's a paid partnership.
Yeah, no, but I was like, the moment that I kind of like invested in the workshop, I was like, oh, this is like light bulb. And like just that week I sold 2 of them, which in turn paid for whatever money I invested into the workshop itself. Or into the course. And so anyways, this specific client is my first actual one tomorrow. And I've been kind of jonesing for this client for like 4 years. That I've known guys that like friends of mine that work for this specific company. I've been like, hey, if if you guys ever need video work, whatever, they're a really big force in the community and just a really good, person to kind of have, or, a company to have in my back pocket and part of my portfolio. And so I've just been like, what if anything ever comes up, and, radio silence for years. And then I shot another ad for another company, an HVAC company, and I needed talent. And one of the guys that I know that works for this company that I'm doing the workshop for, he's got like a pretty face and he's charismatic. So I was like, hey, would you want to be my on-camera talent? And so I shot that and it turned out really well.
Yeah.
And then it started getting put on YouTube ads and like through streaming ads through the company. And the company that this guy works for was like, where you were in a commercial, and like, why were you in a commercial, and who did the commercial? And they're like, oh, that's Mike, Carrot Film Company. And I've known the guy for years. And so that was my in. Like, they saw a guy that worked for them in another commercial, and they're like, wait, that guy, I know him. And so, yeah. I'm pretty excited. It's very significant. I think just in the initial discovery call with them, as far as, just initial like budget things and stuff like that, this will, if fully realized, will be like the most expensive job that I've ever sold. Wow. And so by like 3 or 4 fold. So, and anything can happen. We haven't even had the workshop. So, it could be more than that, or, I don't know, but I have high hopes and anticipations for it. And really just kind of combing through all of the videos this week, and like, okay, like, and watching the ones that you guys have on there, and like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
So, but for those of you who don't know, Mike is talking about the video blueprint method, which I've talked about in the past. If you've ever heard me talk about how we like do our discovery calls, what I do when I get on the phone with somebody who's calling us for the first time, has a video in mind that they need. I walk them through our process. Like, here's who we typically work with, or here's how we work. And one of the ways, the main way, when people need a creative partner like us, that instead of like us just quoting out the job and jumping into the job right away, we do a workshop. So they have to have some kind of a budget in mind, because it's like shopping for a house without knowing how much money you want to spend. It's like, okay, like we're not we're not locking you into any financial decision here. It's just like, is this, are you wanting to spend $5,000? You want to spend $25,000, somewhere in between? And if they say, yeah, we're comfortable in these ranges, then we say, great, we've got this workshop. It's the Video Blueprint Workshop. It's a $2,500 workshop. We're going to spend 2 hours together. We're going to go through our storytelling process. We're going to download all the information from you that we can. You're going to get alignment with your team on the purpose of this piece, on what success is, and all of that stuff. And then within 2 weeks, we're going to deliver a blueprint for you of this video. So before we hit record, before you're committing to $25,000, you're just committed to the workshop fee. You're getting this blueprint. You're going to give us feedback on it. And in the blueprint, we're probably going to propose a couple of different options that are going to be a couple of different price points. So it's essentially, it's a way to get paid to build a creative brief. And what's great, the benefits, I mean, you're going to experience this tomorrow. You're going to get FaceTime with them. So they're going to be sitting there. You're going to be leading them. They're going to walk away like, wow, that Mike guy is smart. Like, he's got a process for how he does videos. And it was funny listening to you, right before the call. You're like, it's a different position to like be leading the conversation and like teaching them, like in like having them like discuss amongst each other. When you're working with executives and higher ups that like run massive companies, now how the turntables have turned, and you're going to be the one saying like, okay, here's how it's going to go, guys. And you guys need to decide, do you want this, more informational? Do you want it more emotive? What do you want? You tell me. And then we're going to build this out for you. And then you're going to say like, yeah, that's great. So the whole process, it's called the Video Blueprint Method. And it is available in our store, I think currently in the Studio Sherpa store. This has been an absolute game changer in our business starting in 2016 when we did our first workshop. I sold it for $2,500. I was nervous just like you are, because I was like, I was leading a consultant, somebody who like consults other people. And I'm like, he's going to think I'm just a total tool and like an imposter and like, what is this guy doing? But he absolutely loved it. Like, he's like one of my favorite testimonials. I'm pretty sure it's on the sales page or in the email follow-up or something like that, where my friend, now good friend Preston, he's just like, man, that workshop was so incredible and so helpful, and all this stuff. So my encouragement to you, Mike, when you're in this meeting, you're going to be feeling like, oh boy, you've got a process, you've got it laid out, walk them through it. When and this is good advice for anybody, whether it's a discovery call, whether it's like you're meeting somebody at the Chamber of Commerce or wherever you're hanging out, you're networking, asking people what success, like having them define success. So like in their business, like, you get to the end of this year, what is going to mark this as a good year? What happened this year to make this a good year? In this meeting, in this workshop today, tell me right now, right here, not you, this is like you talking tomorrow. What is going to be success for our time together today? And then they're going to say stuff like, well, that hopefully that we all get aligned, or hopefully, we've got a plan after this meeting. And then you get to the end of the meeting and you can, you're writing down like, what is success? So, okay, they said that, they want to, and then you can ask them, so did we achieve this? Or you can look and say like, I'm not sure if we achieved that. So then you can, spend just a little bit of time there. But I have not left. And then the last question that I'll ask him is like, was this helpful today? Always. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is great. It was great. Because most companies don't take the time to talk together on stuff. They assign, hey, can you be in charge of the video? Can you hire the video guy or gal and make sure the video gets done and let us see it, when you got the first draft, but don't bother us because there's too many decisions that have to be made. And I don't want to be interrupted over the next like 6 weeks, 10 weeks, however long it takes to get the video. Just show me when you've got the first draft. Bringing everybody together, knowing that it's going to be a significant investment for a business, saying like, hey, I just need 2 hours of your time. And businesses like this, they hire consultants all the time to come in, to do branding, to do design, to pitch them on different things, for manufacturing things. Like, talk to us about the newest equipment. Like, that's just like a normal thing. Us commercial filmmakers, it's not a normal thing for us to consider ourselves as consultants, number one, and then to lead like a business team. just to lead a conversation. It's like, okay, here's how we make great videos. And if you want a video that's going to, do what you want it to do, this is how we do it. And for them to, they're going to all nod their head and be like, okay, tell us. Yeah, Mike. Yeah. Wow, this is impressive. I mean, it's just like so weird how in doing these meetings, I've just gotten the funniest responses of people, like the level of respect, confidence in like our process, and all of that stuff equals people being willing to pay a lot more for their video because they're like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Even if you're stumbling through the stuff, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and I think even in the initial discovery call with this specific client, I'm going to call him a client, even though not officially, I guess.
They
this
will be.
Prospective client, like they will be. Yes, we'll speak it. I think even just giving, and I think you kind of like even through this podcast kind of gave me like, I actually got off a phone call like 10 minutes before I got on here, and it was like some guy calling randomly for video work, and like I'm like literally like it was, I knew it was just gonna go nowhere type of thing. And really just having those kind of like silos of like, all right, well, if it's like an agency calling me and they just want me to like point a camera or whatever like that, and then like, and that's basically what I told this guy on the phone, like we kind of fall into two different categories. And the second is like, we do more consulting, like we come in and we meet with your whole team. He's like, yes, I want that. And I was like, great, that's awesome. So I think through that, he's just like, I think he was like impressed that was like that even spoke volumes. It wasn't just like, I'm going to write out a proposal and send it to you, and if you like the numbers you see, it was more like, I want to get to know you guys. And I did my homework obviously with the company and like looked through all the names of like all the people that were invited, and kind of did my research on LinkedIn. And I was like, it wasn't like a oh shoot moment, like these are these are the highest of the high, like the CEO, like the CFO, like the CMO. I'm like all these guys are going to be in the same room, and I'm going to be like, yep, this is I know so much, and I know what I'm talking about. It's that imposter syndrome. I know that I know what I'm talking about, but I constantly remind myself that why would anybody listen to me?
Well, dude, here's the thing. We all, gosh, I mean, it's like I started out this morning. I was up at 5:30 over in that room right over there, and I'm sitting there reading, journaling, and I'm like, man, I'm just like ready to throw it all in. Which is,
all right,
I mean, it's
well,
like,
yeah,
it just happens to us all. So you're not alone.
Yes.
What's beautiful, I think, my own perspective on the workshop itself is it's 80% of it is just asking questions and gathering information. Right. So all you're trying to do is ask questions and help them get alignment. So you're asking, the CEO, hey, tell me like what is after success for today, that we're all on the same page. Okay. Talk about success for this project, this particular video. As the CEO, what is success? You tell me. Oh, I think it's, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. CFO, CMO, like go down the line. Have everybody say what success is. And most of the time, it's not the same. It's like, everybody has a different, well, it's going to be this. So then if there are any differences, then say like, okay, why don't you guys just take a minute and like hash it out? Like you guys have to decide, like we can't do all the things. So if we're just going to do one, like what is it? And you guys decide. Right. And that's how you can really run the entire meeting through every section of that workshop. Make sure that they're like on the same page and they're in agreement, and you're just like, delegating. I mean, it's like, in my mind, it's like easy. Well, not even the hard work, but more, I think, brain power goes into like putting it all together, building out the proposals, and like, making sure you're not missing the things. Right. But even then, it's not a big deal, because if you send it to them and they're like, oh, you missed, we said that we wanted to actually shoot New York too. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, well, let me add that into the thing, and you can fix that. You still haven't hit record, so you haven't messed anything up or lost any money or anything like that.
Right. Right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, you got this, dude. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be your biggest client yet, and we'll get an epic testimonial for the video blueprint method when it works.
Yes.
So you did sell it, like they're paying you to do this workshop.
Yep. Paid for it. Catering's
amazing.
ordered for lunch, and
I love that, dude.
we'll see.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, what's like we're
So-
a quarter, little more than a quarter into this year. When you look at the end of 2022, what is going to mark this year as a great year?
Man, just starting out this year was and where I am even 4 months in is completely different than I would have anticipated. Talking to my assistant, we set, we had our beginning of the year meeting and set goals and stuff like that, and just even like revenue projections and stuff like that. And we're like, I'm 4 months in, we're already like over halfway there. And it's just like, oh, maybe I should have like thought more highly of myself, or I don't know, it's just like, but I think aside from revenue and profit and making more money, I guess it's really what as most of us do, the reason that we step aside from a traditional 9 to 5 is really spending more time with family. And so if I, and the whole like work-life balance type thing, but really just if I can continue to work, I would say I try to average around 32 to 35 hours a week, working, and really just being flexible with my family, being flexible, like, oh, my wife needs to take, just being a flexible person and having that flexibility in a schedule. I think when I get to the end of the year, I look back and say, no, you work too hard. You need to step back. And I'm kind of always constantly evaluating that, like every day, really. Like a lot has changed since, it's funny. Like I used to work for an agency and I worked like 70 hours a week. And like, just, go home, bring my laptop home and like work, till like 2 a.m. and then get up and be at the office at 8, those types of things, making way less money. And just like the irony, I guess, of like, now I work for myself. I work like half of that and make more than double that. So it's just like, and that was the whole reason, just like, once you have kids, especially, like for me, it was like, I don't know, obviously they're at school most of the time during the day, but like even just having the flexibility and the awareness, like during the evenings and the weekends, like to not really take work home and stuff like that. So I think that I measure that mostly as success, in business and in life, I guess.
I love that, dude.
I don't know.
I think that's a great bar of measurement. Is that how you say that? It's when you, that's what we can say, like, yeah, if I hit this revenue, if I, do this many jobs, I win this award, and if I hire an employee, and all that stuff is good. But it's like, what the heck? I posted this in the community group the other day. It's like, why are you doing what you do? And some people actually said, like, oh, I want to deliver great stuff to our clients, and just and that's cool. That is not why I do what I do. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I want to make cool stuff. I think we're all wired to create something, and us filmmakers, we get to make like really cool stuff, actually. So that's cool. Like, I think it's like flexing that, like, that muscle of like what one of the drivers, but like ultimately at the end of the day, like, I want to have freedom. I want to have freedom in my finances. I don't want to have to worry, like, am I going to get paid next week? Am I going to be able to pay my team next week? Do I have enough money in savings? Am I going to be able to retire? Am I going to be able to help my kids go to college? Can I afford my daughter's weddings? Because there's 2 of them. 2 daughters, not 2. Well, yeah.
Me too.
Whatever.
Me too.
So I want some financial freedoms, but then I want time freedoms. I want to, there's a author that I follow, John Acuff, and he tweeted, he Instagrammed the other day, and he said one of his new daily affirmations is that he wants to be in the moment, like he wants to be able to not what's the word? Not reflect, like a bunch of years later, looking back. Basically, like the fuzzy feelings that when we look back and like, oh man, it was so great to have like little kids and that was so fun. But like he's like, I want to have those moments like right now. I want to like have those fuzzy, like I really want to just be completely present. And I was like, man, like, so I don't want to work super hard for the next 20 years so that I've got enough money in the bank. And then I can say, okay, no, like now I'm free. I want to have the time. Like when we're done with this podcast, my 7-year-old daughter is in the talent show next week with 2 of her little friends and they're doing jokes. And so I wrote a little script for them and we're going to practice, and I can step away, you know, because I got 8 million things that I can do in one of my 2 businesses, but I have the freedom to be able to step away and to come back, and I want more freedom like that. So if our end goal isn't to be more free, whether it's time, money, people, relationships, and it's like, man, what the heck are we doing? Did we lose our focus? And I guess that's kind of my heartbeat behind this show, is to help people achieve more freedoms in their work and in their life, so that they're not having to feel like, man, I got 70 hours a week. Like I just got to grind and hustle, man, just like real hard, because like, it's just like the work's there and I might as well. And it's like, at the cost of what?
Yeah. I hate the word grind, like that's like the opposite. Like I have like an internal like phrase that I say, like never grind, or like don't ever get to that point. And like I said, like that agency I worked for, I went full time in 2016. So prior to that, I worked as like a video producer for an agency, and there was a lot of a lot of conflict amongst like, you know, me, and it was a small team, but like, you know, at first I was like fully on board, and then like it became that like 70 hours, and I would constantly have conversations with the owners of like, why are we doing this? Like I want to spend time with my kids on the weekend. Like why? Like it was one of those like, answer the call when it comes. Like I'm like, well, we're not like first responders. Like it's just video and like websites and stuff. I don't think there's never an emergency, I don't think, in that world. I can't think of one. I've been doing it for 10 years. I can't think of it and ever there being like an emergency, like this has to be done now. But that was the mentality, and it was so drilled into us, and there was always, and I would have these conversations. Well, and it really just came like, you know, the owners at that company, their own fathers had done the same thing, and they didn't really grow up with that mentality of like, you know, they worked hard so then future down the line they wouldn't have to, or their kids wouldn't have to work as hard or whatever. But you know, then their kids won't have memories with them, because they're always taking their laptop on vacation and all of these silly things. No offense to anybody that takes their laptop on vacation, but
been there, done that.
I do that. But I mean, that's just kind of running the complete opposite direction away from that. And like, how can I just came to a point where I was like, I think I can do this by myself, like, and make more money, because I wouldn't, you know, I would just be taking all of the money instead of just an hourly. So it was just kind of running away from that mentality of like, you know, my kids are my kids now. There's like a soundbite in Instagram Reels or something right now, like your kids are only going to be little for like 4 years, or like they're going to be that age. And you need to be focusing on the now. And it is easy to get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in like, and I'm doing this for the greater good. And, you know, had those millions of conversations, like especially when we first got married, like with my wife, like, you know, but I'm doing this so like, you know, for the future and stuff. And then I realized like that never paid off ever. And then we would just be like mad at each other. So it's just better to listen to your wife. She is wiser. And but that, I mean, you learn a lot along the way, and that was one of the things, like, you know, never, I have a rule of like, I shut it off when I leave the office, And that's one of the reasons I don't necessarily work from home, because I'm really bad at like, sneaking down to the office or whatever. So I don't even have like a desk anymore at home, and I'm like halfway across town. So when I leave here, then I'm leaving here. And yeah, I do have a laptop, but like it's a rule, like I don't open it up and do not do work past, what time I leave the office. So to each his own, and everyone does it differently, but that's what I mark as success, because then my kids know when I'm home.
Yeah, I think, the challenge in all of that, it's like there's a mentality of like, you just assume, hey, I'm a business owner, so I've got to do whatever it takes. So if that means I'm taking my laptop home, I'm taking it on vacation because this is the only way I can do vacation. And like for me, like early on in the first few years, like that was it, man. I was always on, and I just always thinking about it, always trying to, solve the puzzle, and felt like I was forgetting stuff all the time, and just I could never shut it off. And after talking to like other people and seeing people further along than me, and hearing other stories, even working with agencies and seeing those people work the same way, and putting the pressure on us, the same thing that you're saying. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to get this done because the agency said so, because the client wants it, because it's like, wait, we're not first responders, but what the heck? But you just assume like this is the way it's done. And so that's the mentality. And I love that we're even talking about this, because it doesn't have to be like that. But hearing that for the first time, for some people, it's like, wait, it doesn't? Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought, customer service, the customer's always right. I have to do whatever it takes for the customer. It's like, that there are some bad customers out there, right? That like don't have your best interest in mind. They don't care about your family. They just care about getting their stuff when they want it, and that's like the end of it. So no, the customer isn't always right. They always matter, but they're not always right. Some have terrible philosophies on life, and they've, their kids don't have relationship with them. They're estranged from their spouse, just like so many things. It's like, well, that's not what I want. So like, what does that take? And that's where, so if you're in a spot, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, like I don't know how to step away from it. I can't leave my laptop, or I can't, there's too many things. I have too much responsibility. The stress is too high. I don't know if we're going to make payroll. I don't have anything in the pipeline. I mean, if that's where you're at, it's like, well, shoot, like, how are you spending your time? Are you like, just like grinding, like just trying to knock off as many tasks as possible? Have you had a second to step back, to breathe, and to say like, what would be the most important thing for me to work on? If I could only work on one thing in this business, what will move the needle? The challenge for so many of us comes at like, you feel like you're drowning, you can't get on top of things, so you just like, well, let me see, I can check my email, like I know I can do that, like let me get in there, and you start doing email, and then it's like, okay, what else can I do, like really quick, just so I feel like, and you're not even like consciously saying like, I want to just feel like I'm doing stuff, but we do the easiest thing in front of us that doesn't move the needle. It makes us feel accomplished. We get to the end of the day and we're like, what the heck did I do today? I mean, I did a whole bunch of things, but like, did I do anything that mattered? Because you can do all of the things and it's like, not super effective. Or you can just do a couple of things, working on your business, working on things that will free up more time later, that can make more money later. It's an investment to work on your business that you don't necessarily see the return on right away. But for me, starting year 1 to year 17, the amount that I work in my business, I mean, I was 6 days a week, I was filming weddings, and my wife is like, wait, so I'm only going to see you on Sunday? Well, yes, unless we have a wedding on Sunday, then you're not going to see me. And she's like, well, you're going to take Monday off. I'm like, well, I can't. Like, I got to get this trailer out, and I got to start like trying to, and it's this vicious cycle. Today, I mean, now I will say I have 2 businesses that I'm trying to pour my heart into both. So my schedule today is a little bit different, but for my production company, Monday, Tuesday, I go hard. Wednesday, it's like I'm kind of split, and I've got, some Studio Sherpa stuff I'm doing and Tell Studios. And then Thursday, like today, is this Sherpa's day. And then tomorrow, is like it's
Mm-hmm.
a slow day. Fridays are typically, I took
Right.
Fridays off for a long time. Pandemic hit. I'm like, you know what? I got to get both these businesses in a better spot so that if there's ever a pandemic again,
Right.
I'm in a better spot. But still, Fridays I'll mostly
Sure.
spend on Sherpas, and after lunch, I'm just kind of like, all right, like I'll poke around here, there. Maybe I'll go to Costco. You know, nothing. But that's like, you know, I'm like 20 hours a week in my production business. Like that's not a lot.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and we're on target to have our best year ever. So
Right.
I'm working on different things today
Yeah.
than I was working on. My stress
Yeah.
level for a production company,
Yeah.
it's like hardly exists.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about efficiency. And I think like two main things that really helped me get to a better point of like not always constantly working in. And it's not always easy for everyone to do, but really like looking how you can, you know, we talk about it a lot, but like outsourcing and finding a virtual assistant was like the greatest, you know, and it was really hard. Like we started out very, very small, like, you know, it was like 2 or 3 hours a week. And now it's really, you know, it's 10 to 15.
That's huge.
And that's a commitment that I've made. Like, but it's like, that's 10 to 15 hours of work that I'm not doing a week. And so, like I said, like I'm averaging really working about, you know, 35, I'll be, you know, 35 hours. So I'm, you know, working less than a 40-hour week, but those hours are so flexible. And like I said, I'm, you know, got to go home to watch a kid while my wife takes one to the doctor, you know, just having that flexibility. That's why I do what I do. And being really intentional about, my wife and I share a calendar, like a personal calendar, and then she can see like, and I really try to time block all of like the business stuff, even for my own, like, okay, I'm going to work on this client from 9 to 11, this client, you know. And so my assistant A can see it, and B, my wife can see it, and we can all be on the same page about everything. And that takes very minimal amount of time. And it really just kind of alleviates a lot of like you said, like spinning the wheels of like, well, I feel like I did something today, but I don't think I actually accomplished anything. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really, when I look back over the last almost 6 years of doing this full time, except for like a little chunk of time where I didn't do it full time, I look back and that's the whole reason that I do what I do is, you know, for my family. And I don't think it's the case, but if I had to choose, I'd rather make less money and have memories with my children, and my children have memories of me growing up, than, you know, vice versa.
And so I don't want somebody to feel singled out and like, oh man, like I'm the worst. I think, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
But also know that the way that you're doing it might not be the best way or the only way.
Yeah. And somebody's, no, I'm just, that's a good point, because someone's mark of success might, right now for me, like working less than 40 hours a week, that's a mark of success. But that doesn't necessarily, somebody doesn't have to feel bad about where they are if they are working for 50 or however many hours to get to that point. But it's kind of constantly evaluating it from that bird's eye view of like, okay, how can I eventually get to that point, instead of just like putting your head down and only moving day to day or minute by minute.
Yeah, because I love work.
Yeah.
Like it is the best. Like it is so fun.
Yes.
You know, especially today, because I'm working way more on things that get me excited. I don't ever see myself like, you know, the 4-hour work week. I think that's an incredible book, and I love the philosophies behind it. But Tim Ferriss, he doesn't work 4 hours a week. Like that's just like hilarious. But it's like, you know, automating, getting people doing, like staying in your zone of genius, creating a business where you've got the freedom to, if I only wanted to work 4 hours a week, I could. Like that's what I want.
Right.
I want that freedom to make those choices. So that's the business that I'm building, so that if we want to work on a passion project, if we want to donate a film, if I want to take 3 weeks off, I can do that and not feel like everything's going to break, the business is going to fail. Like I'm the necessary piece that's holding all of this together. Like that's not
Right.
what I'm trying to build. Trying to build the thing that's like it can
Yeah.
run without me.
Yeah.
And then I can step in when I want.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that happened. I hit a wall last summer, and I was like, I I need to stop working for like a decent amount of time. And I took like pretty much the entire month of July off. And he just even having that, I didn't have any weddings lined up, and it was kind of just like a time of transition. So it was really just like just having that ability, telling my assistant like I'm going to take 4 weeks off. Like I'll be accessible via text or whatever, but I'm not going to be checking Slack. I'm not going to really be checking my email. If you see, like I said, an emergency come in, which those don't really exist, but if something needs addressed, then we can just let me know and I'll kind of determine. But like, yeah, just getting to that point, like, and it does take work. You don't just magically like one day are able to, you know, it does take work. It does take a little bit of head work and grinding, I guess, to kind of get to that point of like, okay, now I can take a breath. I have pieces in place to kind of, I can step away a little bit. I've done a little bit of legwork in getting to this point. But if you can just continue that, I think you do get burnout, and then you kind of have this reoccurring thought like maybe it would be better to go work for someone else or something like that. And like the times that I've had that thought, like, it'd be so much easier if I just got a paycheck and just walked away from it. But then I would not be happy. And I've been there many times, and I've gone back and forth, and this is the place where I belong. And yeah,
I love that.
That's
dude. You got a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, don't ever like undersell yourself. I think you're kind of alluding to that before we even hit record. That you're a lot of our journeys. There's a lot of overlap and a lot of the same struggles. That's why like imposter syndrome, like that phrase comes up so often because it's like so true and so relevant for so many of us. I'm a fake. I'm a phony. I'm the worst. Like my work sucks. Like I don't know why anybody's hiring me.
right.
But what's so good about all of that is for people to hear stories from guys like you and me that say like, yeah, it's real, but you got to fight through it, because at the end of the day, like I do have a gift worth giving. I have something of value. I've had clients pay me in the past because they valued what I do, and I'm going to have clients in the future pay me for what I do. And probably what will happen is people will keep paying me more and more the more experience I get and the more I'm able to help other people. So that's true as well. So I want to just keep encouraging you to believe that and know that your story, it's good and it's helpful, and maybe it's not exactly where you want it to be today, but that's okay, because we're all in that spot of like, we want to grow and we want to improve and we want to be better and we want more freedoms. And so wherever you're at in the whole business journey, if you're somebody that's part-time, you're like, man, I wish I was doing this full-time. Or if you're somebody who's full-time, but you're just freelancing and you wish that you had a studio and some employees, or you're a studio owner and you're like, man, I wish I just didn't have to do anything in the business. I could just like make connections and like, try to sell a film to Netflix or something like that. Wherever you're at, like appreciate where you're at, learn in the spot that you're at, and know that there's somebody right behind you that wants to be where you're at, that looks at you and is like, man, how cool would that be to be being paid as a consultant to go in and lead a 2-hour workshop with a bunch of executives? Like, that's crazy. How did Mike ever get the confidence to be able to do that? And he's getting paid for it, and he's not even shooting a video yet.
Right.
So we're all in different spots. Right? It's just like, man.
Yeah.
It's good and it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I would say a point that I had to come to is really avoiding the way that I've kind of gotten to being okay with like separating myself, or just, you can always tweak something a little more. but you know, that robber of joy, perfectionism, is constantly, you know, looming over me, as far as like I could, you know, and I've just had to let that go and just like, you know, just, we have to be okay with, you know, the work that we're doing. And we're obviously going to go back, you know, 3 months from now, 6 months, whatever we're exporting and putting out to the world. Now we're going to look back and be like, oh, that was so dumb. Like, why did I ever do that? Like, I love watching like 10-year-old wedding videos. Those are the best. But it's just like, you're doing great. Like now, you're doing the best work that you've ever done now. And it's only going to get better. And if you look back in 6 months or a year and you're like, oh, that was great.
Right.
You're probably not getting better.
Right.
I mean, unless it was just phenomenal,
Totally.
outstanding. There are some of those projects that I'm like, yeah, that still looks pretty good. But you know, hopefully you're like, oh man, I've learned so much, and I haven't let perfectionism like rob me of all my time and joy. And that's just, you know, that's hard. That's hard. I'm not saying that's an easy thing to let go of, because this is our baby. This is our craft. This is the thing that, you know, if it's not perfect, then people aren't going to hire us again.
It's not true.
Type of mentality. And that's just not true.
Love that. Dude, this is so fun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we got to do this together. Where can people find you? I know you've got a podcast. How can people keep up with what you've got going on?
Yeah, I mean, carrotfilmco.com is the corporate side. May Morning Studios wedding. Those are the same things on social. And I kind of have been dabbling with podcasting. If something very similar, just me kind of talking about my experiences. It's called the VidBiz podcast. And I just talk about my experiences. And, you know, one of those things I was like, well, you know, Ryan already does that. Like, he has got a podcast about stuff like that. And I was like, well, but Ryan also has like a video business, and all of these thousands of other people that listen also have video businesses, and we're all doing the same thing, and we're all just trying to get better. And I really just love talking about this kind of stuff, and just, I just find it exciting. So I don't actually know if anybody listens to it, but I record it, and there's probably like one listener, my mom.
And it's also therapeutic, right? So, if nothing else, it's like,
it is. Yeah, it's not really to gain anything. It was really my outlet at the beginning of the year to be like, I'm going to create something that's not for gain. I'm not trying to get followers. I'm not trying to get people. I mean, if people listen, it's fine. Like, I want people to listen, but like, that's not what the end all goal is. It was just something like, I need to create something that's like, has no like end goal, where it's just like me talking about my experiences in business and video production. And, you know, if people want to listen along the way, so be it.
Love that.
So,
brother,
that's kind of
excited for you. Can't wait to hear how the workshop goes tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a smashing success, and I can't wait to hear about the massive contract that you're gonna land. You're gonna be like the flagship poster child for the video blueprint method. Like, look what Mike did. Yes. This could be you.
Yes, I will gladly give any testimonial already, because I've sold it. So yeah, if you're on the edge of like, should I do the blueprint method? Yes, you should, because it's just, you know, I'm excited and anxious a little bit about it, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I appreciate just the value that you provide this community of video creators. And just, I mean, I drive a lot to and from clients, and I'm always listening. I think I've been listening way back, like since the beginning. So I think I've listened to pretty much every episode, and it's good stuff. I probably missed a few, but yeah, just appreciate, and it's always valuable, and it's always just great hearing other people talk and share about their life experiences and their experiences in business. And we're all on a journey, and and we're not awesome. Alone.
Well, thanks, man.
It's nice to know that.
Appreciate you quite a bit. All right, my friend, thanks for hanging out on this episode. I want to remind you and encourage you to check out the show notes for this episode. We talked about virtual assistants, and I'm going to link to a past episode that we did solely on how to hire a virtual assistant for your business. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, if you want to get your hands on the actual blueprint that we delivered to a client that we charged $2,500 for and spent less than 5 hours in meetings and creating this thing so that maybe you can start offering workshops at the front end of your sales process instead of having to compete with all the other companies on delivering a project estimate, or even worse, spending time and creative energy coming up with an actual pitch or creative direction for what you would do and how you would do it without charging the client anything for your time. I want you to stop working for free is one of my hopes. You can set yourself apart and consider doing a paid workshop. So see what we deliver by downloading a copy of our blueprint at studiosherpas.com/blueprint. It is my gift to you, and I hope that it can benefit you and your business. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on this episode. And in particular, do you offer any type of workshop for your clients? If so, how is it helping you? Or maybe you're not offering workshops and maybe it's something that you're considering. So I'd love to get your feedback on that. And don't forget, we have a free community if you are interested in just not being yourself. No, not being by yourself. If you're interested in not feeling alone and you want to network with some other incredible filmmakers, people that are trying to make businesses that matter, video businesses that matter, you can join that community at studiosherpas.com/community. We're on the socials at Grow Your Video Business, and I'm at Ryan Coral. If you need anything, email me. I'm ryan@studiosherpas.com. I hope you make it an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's show. Hey, real quick, I stopped drinking coffee, so I don't even have that excuse to say I'm hyped up on caffeine. So I don't know what my deal is, but I'm so glad you're here, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.